So I'm sure you'd agree that probably toughest um, the toughest things we face in life are surrounding our relationships with others, be they romantic, friendship, work relationships, family relationships. I am talking relating with other human beings, other people. That's when that's what tests our mettle, you know. That's what draws out if there's any belief in us, there's any illusion, there's any unresolved psychology. Relationships will always trigger it and gives us the opportunity to transcend. So, I watched the movie Bohemian Rhapsody the other night again. I love Queen, and I love that movie. And in the movie, so what's jumped out at me this time is, so Freddie Mercury, you know, he's like, you know, the most incredible songwriter and star, and Queen as a band, like, you know, they're just so unique, like, you know, like so unique and unusual, and very appealing. You know, the music, I think, is just really just unique. Like, you know, how else can I put it? You know, when you put together all those different styles coming from each of them, and so, you know, what happened with Freddie was, you know, he got all caught up in his own personal demons and path, and was ended up going to do his own, like, he was offered loads of money to do his own independent career. You know, I'm talking millions and millions of dollars, and you know, he took that opportunity because, you know, he was the star and everything, and pretty much betrayed the rest of the band. And he did that, and, you know, and eventually, you know, that just, it took its course. Clearly it was, you know, it was not what he thought it would be, and, you know, it just caused more pain than it was worth. And he came back to the fold, back to his, you know, his family, of his musician family, and you know, deeply apologised from the depths of his heart. And he said the thing is that when he was doing his solo career, so, you know, he had musicians and everybody would do exactly what he wanted, you know what I mean? He had full creative power, total creative power. And he said the problem was that they did exactly what he said. And he said the difference when he was working within the band, which was, you know, a fluid, co-creative environment, is that there was always pushback, you know, like, you know, he'd come up with an idea with some music, and then, you know, he'd want it done one way, and, you know, another band member would be like, they'd do their own thing, you know, create their own musical riff to go with it. There was always this push, and he said, you know, you couldn't just put through a creative idea and have it happen exactly your way. You know, there was always this pushback from one another, this creative flow amongst four individuals, you know, but working as one. And the evidence is there. The music is amazing, you know, like, and the sheer scope of styles that they came up with, you know, it was such a reflection of, you know, true co-creativity, and they were all, you know, very different personalities. So, you know, he saw the light, as in, you know, we can't just sort of, you know, keep it all under control. We're not going to get the full creativity of what we're saying by hanging on to it and doing ourselves. It's through the co-creation, working with others and everything, and trusting in that flow, and trusting in other people and in the vision, trusting within, but also not trying to control the whole flow of it all. So that's just a short little reflection on why we're here with other people on this planet. You know, we're here to work together, we're here to co-create together. And you know, it's like democracy. You know, it's not about the single vision of a singular person at the top of a pyramid. It's never going to work, because their vision is not encompassing everybody else's. It's not responding to the whole. You know, you need people who are prepared to work with one another, and that includes ourselves. We're all a part of democracy, you know, we're all a part of this world. So we just need to learn to sort of raise our voices and contribute to the great dance that is afoot, rather than sit back and either A, try to control it, or B, wait for somebody else to control it. Like, oh, okay, thoughts for the day.